Today it's not only been rainy, it's also been windy. And this one bed row cover came off. I'm surprised it blew this direction. Yay. Some of the seeds that I started last week in my soil blocks are starting to pop up. Can you see them? Those are some lettuces. These need to go out into the greenhouse now. I got that one bed pinned down last night. Then I woke up this morning, it was super windy. And now all of these guys are blown off. Oi. Oh, shoot. See, I've just got them pinned down with rocks and the wind just lifts the rocks completely up and yanks them off. I got some little garlic guys coming up though. Can you see the little guys? Yay. Shoot, man, this just doesn't work very well. Every time I first put this together, I put just like a few rocks in here and just like, oh, hopefully it won't be windy. So now I've folded over the edges of the row cover and just put some heavier rocks on there. And let's hope that does it. You know, normally I just roll the rocks underneath, which is how I've got it over here. But that doesn't really hold very well unless I've got like a ton of heavy rocks. So anyway, hopefully we don't get too much wind. I've got the little transplants and their soil blocks in here on the tables. Oh, let's see. Bok choy popping up. This is the Italian kale. I wasn't really seeing much in here. Just a few little tiny guys. But because the collard greens were popping up in this mixed Italian kale collard green tray, I just went ahead and took them out here along with the lettuce, which is definitely popping up. And I'm gonna go ahead and tonight throw some row cover on these guys. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do it right now so these blocks don't get too you know, too dry or anything. I've just left the row cover on these beds in here. Oh my gosh, I've got so much horsetail coming up. Look at all the horsetail. But yeah, I've got my little orange transplants and the chard transplants and all the other little transplants I've got in here. Yepper-doodle. It's supposed to get down near freezing tonight, but these little guys have always been fine out here in their trays in the past, so I'm gonna roll with it. Today was supposed to be my day off, but sometimes the garden calls. Well, the row cover and the garlic held up, but my stupid Velcro plastic door to this greenhouse blew off, and then all of my row cover blew off my guys last night in that nearly freezing weather. So except for being knocked around, I think that they're okay though. I told myself that since yesterday I didn't really get a day off on my day off, that I would take today off. But I kind of figure since the wind has blown the row cover off these beds that I might as well go ahead and snip these transplants down to one seedling. Like I've said probably a million times, I usually thin these down when they're in the soil blocks, but I had to get these out before, you know, it was freezing, so I just threw them out. So I'm just gonna clip one of these guys like this. Doop-de-doo. Who gets to live? Who gets to die? And just do one seedling fellow like that. Microgreens, baby. You can see that the radishes I got from the store and transplanted in here survived, most of them. There is like a ton of volunteer orach in both of these beds. This is the kale bed. Uh-oh, I missed one of my little guys here. And there's also a ton of volunteer orach over in this bed with a bok choy as well. So anyway, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cover these guys up again until we don't have a freezing forecast. So in this greenhouse, I have chard at the end, and then I've got a half bed over here of orach. And this I actually transplanted. It's not volunteer. And this is all just Salanova lettuce. And they're just popping up there. Ooh. I decided to go ahead and pull the row cover off. You know, the transplants that I put out here yesterday, because I'm just afraid these guys are gonna get even more leggy, you know, since they're not getting quite enough light. These guys, oh, there's a few popping up. This is a kale. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. And some kale and more kale. Nothing popping up in there, but the collard greens are up. And then the lettuces. So yeah, I think during the day I'm just gonna leave the row cover off this, even though, you know, I don't want water to evaporate, but I can always just get a, you know, a little thing of water and water these guys easily. It's just the beds that aren't quite as easy to water. Still plenty of moisture down here from when I put the snow on the beds and it melted, so that's working good, but they'll probably need a water at some point. Yeah, I went ahead and pulled out some of the horsetail, but it has just got such a long root system. Sometimes you can get a lot of the root out, but a lot of times it's just plucking the tops off, trying to keep it at bay. Radishes are still surviving in these beds too, but I haven't seen any slug activity. They must be all just hibernating or whatever it is that they do. Here's a horsetail. Yeah. So I'm gonna pull the rubber cover back on the beds, but leave the transplants out to sop up the sunlight. Guess who I just saw hanging out here in the sawdust pile. Oh my gosh, I think she's gonna lay down and get cozy. Hi, sweetie. Are you getting cozy in the sun too? This is the first I've seen a deer out in the open in a long time. Hi, little deer. I'll leave you alone now. Oh yes, lots of projects this week, probably. If I was smart, I would spend a little bit of time cleaning up here in the garden today. Oh my gosh. Because we're only gonna have a couple of dry days today and tomorrow, and it's supposed to rain again. I'm seeing my first robin over here digging around in the soil. Well, not the soil, the seaweed. So I would hate to bother my little deer friend though. If I move around this plastic and stuff, that'll make a lot of noise. Yes. I see a bunch of other birds now in my raspberry patch. Oh, can you see that? I don't know what kind of birds they are. Oh, there's a robin. Maybe it's just Juncos. Juncos and robins arriving en masse on the second week of April. Okay, so we have a nice dry blue sky day, and then it's supposed to rain starting tomorrow. So I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do out here, but I'm gonna start with pulling this plastic off, getting it hung up on the fence post to try and dry out. We'll start there. Under the poly-low tunnels, I had parsley and leeks. So I was able to get kind of a little bit late harvest of the parsley, and then I was able to harvest about half of the bed of leeks before we got this really hard freeze early this last winter. and then I could not get my fork into the ground to get the rest of them out. I've got this bed, it was mulched in leaves, but the seaweed is the only thing that will really keep the ground from freezing. I just dug up this leek and the roots seem healthy. Under these two beds with green tarps are carrots, and I don't know if they made it through the winter, again, because, you know, the soil was frozen like 6 inches deep, couldn't get my fork into it. I'm looking at these carrots. Just, yeah, rotten tops. So I don't know how that's gonna work. This one is fine all the way to the top. So I think what I'm gonna do is pull these tarps off, get the leaves, move them over into the new garden area. And last night, because I have a bum thumb, Tyler went out with me and got seaweed. Can you see? And I got some seaweed piles over there. I think I'm just gonna move the leaves over there too. Grow potatoes. What do you think? Alrighty, that's where we're at right now. I didn't have time to get this last third. Got 2 piles of leaves over here. I don't know if this is worth moving this stuff over here, but it's a little bit of material. Seaweed pile. I'll throw the next thing of leaves right there. Seaweed pile. And my last thing of leaves right here. One more load of seaweed. Probably the last load. Sounds like lots of birds, but I've actually only seen a couple of robins out there in the garden kicking around. Got all excited about the birds showing up. Now there's 2 of them. Where'd they go? One right there, and one, where'd he go? Right there. Can you see him? Oh, he just barely got his little head stuck. There's one of them. And there's the other 2, 3, 4. Okay, you guys, now there is even more. There are even more robins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my gosh, so many. My remaining set of soil blocks up here at the house. I've got parsley, leeks, and green onion sets. Oh, can you see? Whoa, green onions are popping up. Nothing going on with the parsley as usual. My leeks. So you see I have the Chinook and the Bandit. The Chinooks are the first to pop up. I don't see any of the others coming up, but I think I'm gonna take these guys and the onions out to the greenhouse tables. Okay, the garden is full of robins. There are so many of them. Here we go. Those are the brave birds. Okay, keep on keeping on. I've got my green onion sets and my tub of leeks here on the greenhouse table with these other starts. So I've been just pulling this up by hand, throwing it on the tarp, and then dragging it over to the new garden area, just because it's a lot easier. Okay folks, so I have my 3 piles of leaves here along with my 3 piles of seaweed, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll probably mix them together or something and grow potatoes in them. This is the new garden area, so I had thought maybe I would till it and then plant something, but now I'm just going to plant something and maybe till it up in the fall, pull out the rocks and stuff. And over here, I've got this all cleaned out now, and these 3 far beds are supposed to be direct seeded in baby greens, so I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with the seaweed in that far bed. And then also the plan is to direct seed carrots in these 4 beds here, so I got to think about prep in those too. Next week I don't think we're supposed to have any freezing weather, so I should be able to maybe direct seed some things. I'll probably be able to rip the row cover off the beds in the greenhouses and get water going to them. The birds are rototilling. My row cover on my garlic seems to be holding up so far. And yeah, I think that's it for the week. I'll see you guys next week. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna give this little guy a taste test. Really sweet and crisp still.